Everyone, it is Bob and Sarah here. We are excited to be with you on this beautiful Friday morning. Today we are going to spend some time talking about vision for your business, and we're going to talk about how vision can translate into not only profitability but a better experience for you and your employees with your business. So we're excited to be here with you today. And Bob, why don't you just get us kicked off? Explain to us, why are we talking about vision in the first place, and why does it matter?
Well, vision is a critical part of any business out there, and I know we've had our company now 32 years, and it's one of those things that you struggle with all the time as a small business owner, and really understanding what it is. And once you get the grasp of what a vision is and the power that it brings into your dealership and to your people, you'll understand why it's important to have it. And as you go back and you think about, and I was a history major in school, and you think about the times in our history where great things happened, and great things always happened in our country because there were strong leaders that cast a vision, and then the people grabbed a hold of the vision and they moved it forward. I mean, we're getting ready to come up on the 4th of July right now, and you think about, we were a colony of the British, and on July 4th there was a decision made that we were going to break away and we were going to form this new country, and it was cast around a vision. There were basically 3 key components to that vision: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. One of the things the founding fathers wanted was liberty, and they were passionate about that, but they cast that vision, and we as a country took on this superpower. So you think about Britain and the British during the time of the Revolutionary War. They were the superpower. They had all the best equipment, all the best things, yet we, because a vision was cast and the people got a hold of that vision, we became the United States of America. I go back and I think about on May 25th in 1961, there was a vision cast, and John Kennedy was the president back then, and he stood up in front of the Congress, and he cast a vision for our country. And really the vision was what took us from being a kind of mediocre player to a superpower. Back prior to that, in 1959, the Russian had put a satellite up, Sputnik, up into space, and we didn't have any way to compete with that. We didn't have any way to get up there, and so Kennedy, we were falling behind in the space race, and so Kennedy put an audacious vision in place for our country. He said on May 25th, 1961, he said, before the end of the decade, we are going to put a man on the moon and bring him back safely. We didn't have the ability to do it. We didn't have the knowledge to do it. We didn't have the technical expertise to do it. At that point, we could get a rocket to go up 200 feet and it would explode. Nobody wanted to ride that baby, right? And so we were not able, when he made that and when he cast that vision, we weren't able to do anything close to what he said we were going to do. Yet, because of the vision he cast and the passion that he cast it with, and the people got a hold of that vision, and they ran with that vision, and on July 20th, 1969, we put 2 men on the moon and brought them both back safely. And I tell people it happens because of vision. And you've got to do the same thing with your business. You've got to cast a vision for your business so that your people can grab hold of it and they can take and run with it. But you've also got it in with the vision, Sarah. You've got to have those core key values in place so that your people aren't just running rampantly, and that we know we're all trying to get to the moon, right, and not Mars or Jupiter. Right. So talk a little bit about core values and vision.
Yeah, absolutely. So core values and vision go hand in hand. You can't really have one and be effective with one without having the other as well. And we've seen that from firsthand with our own team, but also with all the other businesses we work with. And it's really interesting as you look at it. First off, though, I want to say your core values have to be actionable.
Right.
You can't just have core values without an action attached to it. So, for example, at our company, our core values are excellence, integrity, and performance. Those are ours. And if we were to say to our team, all right, go be excellent,
right,
what does that mean? What does that mean to our team? We have to have actionable items behind that. So as we break that down, so for our team, we say excellence. We're going to do the things to the best of our ability with the resources we have, right? That's how we know we are doing things excellently. With integrity, we say what we say is what we do. So if you're doing that inside of our company, you're showing integrity and you're doing what is one of our core values. Last but not least is performance. And so those are our 3. And so for performance, it means we're constantly looking for ways to up not only our own game and the way that we're conducting ourselves as a business, but also the dealers and other businesses we're working with. So if our team is working inside these 3 core values and going towards this vision we have in place, we know we're on the right track. and we know we've equipped our people to move forward in the right direction. One of the analogies I like to use, and it really helps put some vision around the vision, right? To put some perspective around it, is that of a fence, right? So when we have a vision and we have core values, we have the vision which tells us where we're going, and our core values are giving us a set of things to operate by. You can go and achieve a vision and be illegal, immoral, unethical, or life-threatening. You can go down a road and have those things and still achieve your vision, but your core values tell your employees and your team how you expect them to achieve this vision. So it's like a fence, right? So we know if they are operating inside of these boundaries, that they are not going to be in trouble for doing anything that's trying to go move us towards what our vision is if we're operating inside of our core values. The other side of this, with our fence analogy, is you can decide what you build your fence with, right? You can build it with barbed wire if you'd like. Right. You can make it with shrubs, but the strength of your fence determines how strong your core values are and your vision are. If it's going to be knocked over by the first angry customer who comes in and you say, you know what, I know we're going to be excellent, we're going to have integrity, but that doesn't apply today, and I know there are not going to be any repercussions for that, then you've made a fence out of nothing. Like, you've stuck some poles in the ground and called it good. But when you create that fence, it's up to you to make that decision of what you're going to build that out of and how you're going to put those boundaries in place for your team.
And it's critical. Like Sara said, you've got to have the values to attach to the vision. So we always laugh in here. We say you can do anything in business as long as it's not illegal, immoral, unethical, or life-threatening. And that's a set of core values that I try to impart to dealers all the time. There's nothing wrong with making money. And if you've listened to me, our goal is to make obscene amounts of money, as long as it's not illegal, immoral, unethical, or life-threatening. It's that boundary. It's those core values, like Sara said, that you have to build that fence around. And again, so often in business, to Sarah's point, is we'll tell our customers, well, we want to deliver good customer service. Well, what does that mean, good customer service? Why is that important? We want to have people walk away with a wow experience. Well, what is that? What does a wow experience look like? Do they say wow? Do they write us a letter with wow? But you want to be real clear and say, this is what that means. Like Sara said, ours is integrity, excellence, and performance. Well, what does integrity mean? We do what we say we're going to do. Come hell or high water, if we said it, we're going to do everything in our God-given power to make that happen. Right. Because that's what I want my team to do. If we say it, it's going to happen, right? Or short of death itself, we're going to make it happen, right? Excellence, everything we do, we strive to be excellent at that. It doesn't mean that we're excellent at everything we do.
Which is hard to believe.
It is hard to believe, Sara. I know. Well, I'm excellent at everything I do, but the rest of the team suffers just a little bit. So, but I mean, so it's a matter of going back and saying, okay, well, what does excellence look like? What does that mean? If it's in your parts department, what does excellent customer service means? I know you have a lot of people that are stupid that walk up to the part counter and don't know what they need and things like this, but then you go like, well, I can't help you out. Well, that's not excellent customer service. So I think part of your job as an owner is making sure, again, that you say, here's our vision, here's where we're going, here's what we're trying to accomplish in here. And you got to get your people on board, and some people are not going to get on board with your vision. And if you've got people out there that says, I don't buy into this, I don't care about this, then this is the time of year you start evaluating whether we really want these people on our team as we go into 2018. You got to have people on your team that embrace the vision, and then you as an owner have to lay out, here's our core values, here's what we believe. And you can't have 20 or 30 of them. You got to have 2, 3, or 4 of them that are easy to understand. And to Sara's point, you have to be able to demonstrate to people, this is what that core value means. This is what integrity means to me. If we say it, we're going to do it. No questions asked. Well, what if it costs us this much money? Then just do it. Right. I don't care. Just do what we said we're going to do. Do we fail sometimes? Sure, we fail, right? But I would say again, but we're constantly striving to make that happen. Excellence again. What does excellence look like? That is a hard, difficult word to say, right? So excellent look like. So then, what are we striving for from that standpoint? And then the other is performance. I mean, we are beating on you guys all the time as dealers. Performance, performance, and performance. Measure, monitor, adjust. Right. And we do the same thing in here. So what does it mean to perform well? What does that look like? We want people to walk away from our dealer success groups going, that's the best hour I've ever spent. We just, for those of you that are in our success groups, we just had our series with our owners owners only. We had a lot of the dealers. We covered a lot of really cool things that they need to be aware of, but we had several of them say, this was the best hour I've ever spent. That lets me know that we did excellent with that, and that's what our goal and our striving is to be. The next thing, though, Sarah, is you got to say, okay, well then how does this relate back to our departments?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have a grand vision for the dealership. This vision is to be this, to go here or do this, but then we have to say, okay, well then how do I break this down by department? So as an owner, you're sitting there with your vision. You say, this is my grand vision. And then you have to bring your parts manager, your service manager, your sales manager in and say, okay, well, what does that mean? How are you going to take this and then communicate that to your team, whether it's in service, parts, sales, or rental, and how you're going to tie your vision for that department into the big vision for the dealership. And I think that's where many times in dealerships, Sarah, where it starts to fall apart, because the owner has the vision, right? And then they say, okay, well, this is what our vision is. Okay, now you guys go do this. And I tell people again, you have to understand that a vision is like a bucket with holes in it. You don't just cast it, right? You put it in a bucket, and there's holes in this bucket, and the vision is constantly bleeding off. And you as an owner, you as a manager, have to constantly be recasting that vision. You got to every day, every couple of days, here's where we're going, here's what we're doing, here's the things that we're trying to do there. But then you hand it off to your manager, service, parts, sales manager, rental manager, and you say, here's our big vision. We want to go to the moon. Okay, don't have a clue how we're going to get there, right? But your job is to figure that out. And basically NASA was created for that, and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory was a part of the rockets. I mean, so the managers got together and they said, okay, this is a pretty big thing to go to the moon. Okay, we don't have the ability to do it. We don't have the technology to do it. We don't know how to get there, but we've got a bunch of smart people here. We'll figure it out. Right. And that's the kind of cool thing about it, when your managers then take your vision and then they go back to their department and they say, okay, team, our dealership wants to go to the moon, right? Here's the goal. We want to get there before the end of the decade, right? We want to put a man there safely and bring him back. And by the way, it's important if you put him up there to bring him back. Right. So that was a part of the vision, to put a man on the moon and bring him back safely. It was clear. The cool thing about the vision was it was motivational. Everybody was excited about it, right? It was very focused. We were going to the moon and back, and it had a timeline. And I tell people that's what vision is. There's 3 parts to a good vision. You got to get people excited about it, right? It's got to be measurable. We got to say, okay, how will we know? And then you got to have a timeline on it. And when are we going to get there? We have a vision for our company in 2018 to do some specific things, and we are on track to do those. Actually, I think we're going to get ahead of it. Vanessa's sitting over here because Vanessa's a part of that vision.
That's right.
But we're going to be ahead of it. But we've had this vision now for 3 years, and we've been working and going toward this vision. Right. And it's exciting because I think we're going to get there before when we are really actually planning on getting there. But we all then stepped in, and everybody takes a piece of it. So let's go back and think about this in the context of, say, the service department. So if your vision is this vision to be this dominating force in your marketplace, maybe that's your vision. We want to be the dominating force. And I love to be a dominating force. So if you're going to do it, go big or go home. So we're going to be the dominating force for whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's an ag or outdoor power, construction, power sports, it doesn't make any difference. We're going to be the player. We're going to be the one that everybody turns to and they talk about, and when they hear our name, they wet themselves. That's the kind of power that we want to have. Well, that might be a little extreme, right? So yeah, we'll send them Pampers. Okay. All of our competitors will get Pampers. So when they hear our name out there, I want them to have fear come into their hearts. And so then we got to go back and say, okay, well, service department, how are we going to make that happen back in service? And so as a service manager, you have to say, okay, guys, Bob, the owner, says we want to be the dominating force in the marketplace. So what does that mean in service? What does it mean for us to be a dominating force in service? How are we going to take that vision and break it into a smaller vision? Maybe we're the guys that are building the rocket engines. Maybe that's the piece of it. How do we do that? And that's what the manager has to do. So in service, and you've heard me, if you've heard me speak before, I've talked about vision before. In service, my goal is I want to have a service department that people walk away from. And when they walk away from it, they say, wow, they're expensive over there. Pause. But if you want it done right, you take it to Bob's dealership. That's what I want to have people say. And that's how we're going to become that dominating force. So then we take that vision of we want to be the most expensive. And I'm just telling you that up there. When I hear dealers say, well, we're kind of pricey, I don't care if you're pricey. I just want to make sure you're putting out good work in a timely fashion. Nobody cares about what you charge them for the work. What they get upset about is when the work is not correct and it took you forever to do it. So focus on the right thing. So we want to be a dominating force. And as a dealership, to do that, I have to have a dominating marketing service department. And what does that look like? We want to be the ones that our price is a little higher than anybody else. I always want to be the price leader, right? But I want to have people walk away and say, but if you want it done right, that's the dealership you take it to.
Absolutely.
So then as a manager, I have to figure out, well, then how do I make that happen? Well, we got to get good processes in place, and we got to have the right technicians. And we got to pay technicians well so technicians are excited about doing good work. I tell people again, you don't hire people cheap and expect them to do great work. You know, you got to pay for guys. If you win baseball and you want guys to hit home runs, you got to pay for a home run hitter. And it's the same thing in service. So sometimes we want it, but then we don't hire the right people to get us there, right? I mean, it'd be like me if you wanted me to build a rocket engine, bad idea, right? You know,
I wouldn't be on that rocket, that's for sure.
Well, I'd be happy to try, but you probably would not want to be on my rocket at all.
Not,
all right,
no.
But we do like, being fourth, we do like to see things explode and blow up. So anyway, so again, you got to hire the right people to do the job, and the same thing with your service managers. You got to hold them accountable to having that really strong vision from that standpoint. Then we go to the parts department. Say, okay, well, what do we want? If we want to be the dominating force as a dealership, then what does that mean in parts? Well, we want to have people walk up to the parts counter and walk away and say, what's the experience we want them to have there? Well, I want people to walk up to the parts counter and I want to say, wow, these guys have the parts I need and they've got great prices. And again, if you've been in any of our workshops or you're part of our success groups, you know about our pricing strategies, and I'm not going to talk about that on this webcast. But all I'm saying but you've got to create that vision for that. So I want people to walk away. If they go to I grew up in a small little farming community, a little coffee shop down there, and there's probably farmers down there this morning drinking coffee, bitching and complaining about everything. We call them cavemen, citizens against virtually everything. So if these guys were down there and they were talking about my parts department, what would I want them to say about it? I want them to say, guys, you know, you go to Bob's dealership, they got the parts you need and they got great prices on it. So that matches that vision. So now I got the service department going in the right direction. I got the parts department going in the right direction. And sales, what do we want them to say about sales? I want them to say, wow, these guys have got great product and they're fair to deal with. Not the cheapest to deal with, they're fair to deal with. Right? And so again, now I've got three parts of my business going. If I've got rental, I want to have the rental equipment they need when they need it at a fair price. And so now I've got all four parts of my business that are focusing on helping me, which my vision is being this dominating force in the marketplace. All parts of my business are tying their visions into it, and now we're going in the right direction. And that's really the power and the importance of vision as you go through and do it. So one of the things that we talk about then, Sarah, is how do these things create profitability for our dealerships? So let's talk a little bit about the profit part.
Well, absolutely. And none of these things that we're talking about necessarily happen overnight. You don't snap your fingers and you say, our team is on board and they're excited about our vision. That's not how it happens. You don't just snap your fingers and have your core values created.
Well, we do here. When I snap my fingers, everybody jumps up and automatically does things.
That's not true. Not true. But it takes time. It takes energy. And I know that in the middle of season right now, you're like, oh, please. I don't have time to establish a vision. I don't have time to establish core values. And heck, have you met my parts manager? Yeah, they're not going to get on board with this whole vision, frilly, feel-good idea.
Billy doesn't like people. That's why he's my parts manager.
Right. Yeah. Great place for Billy if he doesn't like people, the parts counter. So anyways, but as we're thinking about this, we have to come to the realization that our vision and our core values do generate income for us, right? And that's what we're all really worried about at the bottom, our bottom line. And it also gives us, most of you did not get into business to deal with employees who are bitching, whining, moaning, and complaining all day long. You may have, but you don't have any of those employees.
No, I do not. I used to have, but they're no longer with me.
Yikes. So it not only does this increase our cash flow in certain ways, but it also gets our employees on board and excited. But the thing I want to come to right now and talk about for just a minute is that having a vision and core values in place allows you to grow your business as you want to grow your business. I recently read this book that really rocked my world. And it said in this book, it said, if you want to grow your business 20%, you have to delegate 20% more of what you're doing. Did you catch that? So if you want to grow your business 20%, you have to delegate 20% more of what you're doing. And as an owner or manager, I know you're probably saying, okay, well, I'm sure I could somehow put this on because you don't understand my employees, right? They're not going to do things the way I'm going to do them. They're not going to follow through, and I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to have to go back and do it again myself later. Like, I fall into that trap all day long. I sit in the same spot and say, I don't want to trust anybody. I know I'm going to like how I do it, and I may not like how somebody else does it around the corner, right? So I think it's important that we have to understand to our core that if we have the desire to grow our business, we have to have a strong vision in place, and we have to have core values that are directing our employees down the right path. Because without that, it just comes back on us as owners or managers, right? You can't actually move your dealership forward if you just can keep piling on 20% more, 20% more, 20% more. So for you to continue to grow your business, you have to figure out what your vision is, your core values, and then empower your people to do those things.
Yeah, it is. And to Sarah's point, again, I think so many times in business, because most of you are like me. I mean, I was an entrepreneur. We started the business, and you did it all yourself. And one of the biggest challenges is how do I release that? But to Sarah's point is if you're going to grow your business 20%, you can't do 20% more as an owner. You've got to learn to delegate. I mean, it's like in the military. We go back to the Revolutionary War. You know, the passion was there. The dream was there. These guys didn't do all the upfront fighting. George Washington, while he led his team, he wasn't always at the front of the charge because then he would have died. Okay? So again, so you have people that you have to delegate to. I mean, if you think about
you're out.
You're Jim Dom, you're my front guy, right? Take that hill, right? So it's the same kind of thing there. So, you know, so you've got different people that are doing it, and you train them, you know. The different people are trained. The military is a perfect example. They train people at different levels, and they give them those responsibilities. Here's where we're going, and then your job is to take your team, your group, your troop, and to move them in that direction. And I think it's a fatal flaw that we have as business owners, thinking that nobody else can do it as well as we can do it. Probably not, but if you're going to grow, you got to have people take on some of these. John Kennedy, his goal was to create the vision, and then he delegated it. He put it over in other people's hands who are better equipped than him to do the task. It was still important, though, that he cast that vision, and that's the thing you've got to understand. From a ownership standpoint, you got to cast a vision, then you got to have those goals. The other thing, though, as a part of a vision, you got to have then mile markers. You got to have goals set up. You got to have ways to measure. Are we getting there? Are we getting close? As I said before, we have a vision that we cast about 3 years ago for where we wanted to be in 2018, and we have mile markers set up so that we know, are we on track? Are we doing the right things to get there? The challenge many times, though, is you think, well, I'm going to put these goals out there, and my people are going to drive toward these goals, but then you're making an assumption that all people are goal-oriented.
Right.
And that's the fatal flaw that you have as a manager. Not everybody is motivated by a goal. I'm not a goal-oriented person. There's two different ways that people are motivated. Some people are motivated by what we call possibility. I want to do this because of the possibility of great things that's going to happen in my life. Other people like me are motivated to avoid pain. Okay, I hate pain. I don't want to have to screw with things that are going to create pain for me, so I do things not because of great possibilities. I do them because I don't want to deal with the pain of not getting it done. It'd be like looking for a car or a truck. If I'm going to go out and buy a new truck, I'm not going to buy a new truck because a new truck will give me great opportunities to do other things. I'm going to buy a new truck because I don't want to have to screw around with my old one. It's getting old, it's getting a lot of miles on it. I don't want it to break down. So I'm not a person that's motivated to buy a new truck because of great possibilities. I'm a person that's motivated to buy a new truck because my old one's getting a lot of miles on it and I don't want it to break down. I'm pain motivated, not possibility motivated. So you got to understand that with your people. When you're working with your people, where do they fall at on that? Some people are going to be motivated by the goals. Some people are going to say, well, this is what we're going to do, and if we do it, you're going to be able to have a job 10 years from now that's going to be paying you more money. That's what I want. Okay, not because of the wonderful ability to dominate the market. I want a job 10 years from now that's going to be paying me a lot of money. So understand that. That's a big thing. Again, I find that sometimes we assume that everybody is goal-oriented. They are not. I'm not. And I know that always surprises people, but I'm a person that does almost everything in my life to avoid pain. I can motivate myself with that. I was a person, again, in school that if a term paper was due on a Friday and I had 4 weeks to do it, I finally got busy doing it on a Thursday night. Okay, but I got it done, right? And it was fine as I did it. But it wasn't the long-term play. I was more motivated by that short-term play. So understand that as you're casting that vision, you do have to have mile markers, just like what we have in ours, right? Got to have those core values. Like Sara said, it's building that fence. So we're keeping everybody. I don't want somebody shooting off to Mars and somebody shooting off to Venus. Right. Our focus is on the moon, right? So let's cut those core values, help you kind of keep that fenced in. Then you got to have those mile markers, those things set up so that we know, how do we know that we're getting there? How do we know this is happening? So you're constantly measuring, monitoring, adjusting those things. But just understand, again, not everybody is goal-oriented. So part of your job as an owner or a manager is to figure out what motivates your own people. They're all going to be a little bit different. And then making sure those mile markers, right, are set so that each person is motivated, either through avoiding pain or through possibility, motivated to achieve those goals.
Right. And so I think the other part of this, as an owner or manager, you have to be the one who's checking in on a regular basis with your team. One way that we found to be really effective to do this is we have weekly team meetings. And we sit down with our entire team every Monday morning before the week starts, and we go over things that went really well the last week, things that we can all come together on and help other people towards achieving our goals. We go over our core values, and we point out ways that people are really stepping up to the plate on these. But it's your job as an owner or manager to take a step back and say, this is important enough, and the growth of my business is important enough, our customers are important enough, my employees are important enough, that we're going to take a step back and we are going to make sure we're all on the same page going forward. Because without that, there's not going to be growth. You're not going to be able to keep people motivated. It's like the bucket analogy you used a little bit ago, right? It's all going out. You got to keep it being filled up. And one way you can do that is by getting your team together every week. And we even did the math on what it ended up costing us to do this, and it was an obscene amount. The amount of time, the money it costs per hour for us to sit down and meet as a team. But we have decided that it's worth it.
It is worth it.
It's worth it. And it keeps everybody moving in the same direction and keeps our focus and our vision going in the right way.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, Sarah, and I know as I work with dealers, they say, well, but I'm talking to my people all day long on a regular basis, but it's not the same as having a sit-down meeting with them and really moving them in that direction from that standpoint.
And it doesn't have to be a long meeting. I mean, if you take 15 minutes one time a week in the morning and say, you know what, here are the things that went really well, and you keep casting this vision, that's all you need to do. It doesn't need to be something that's really in-depth and where you have to break down all the numbers by department necessarily.
Right. And the other piece of the vision, and I'm going to have Sarah talk about this a little bit, is just it gives your customer a consistent experience. Because, again, ultimately what we have to do is we got to wow customers.
Absolutely.
We got to have people that want to come in and spend money with us. So it's that consistent experience that we're looking at there.
Absolutely. And what comes to mind when I think about a consistent customer experience is this Walmart versus Target mentality, right? We've all been to Walmart and we've all been to Target, and there's very, very different experiences that you have in those two stores, right? But you know what you're going to get when you walk in. Most of the time, they have the same products, right? For the most part, you can get the same things at both stores. So why do people choose one store versus the other, right? It's their vision. So Walmart, their desire is to be the low price leader. And everything that they do centers around that vision, whether it's their happy faces that make you think, oh, okay, that's the best price I'm going to get on this, right? Most of the time, that's not actually the best the price you're going to get, but they've just conditioned us over and over and over.
They trick you.
Yes, that we're going to be getting the best price. It's not necessarily the case, but they are doing everything that they have their employees do is going towards this thought that they want to be the low price leaders. And if you're looking for that experience, you're going to go to Walmart. Target, on the other hand, they want to be the preferred shopping destination, all right? And when I say, okay, I need a break from this office, often that happens, right?
Wow,
hard to believe if he's around. But where do I go? I go to Target and walk around for 30 minutes just to clear my mind.
It's actually sad. It's very sad.
Target life. But but how does Target do that, right? Their displays are different than Walmart. They have a Starbucks at most Targets when you walk in, so you can get your overly priced coffee and have start spending the money right away. But from their end caps to the way that they display their pricing, everything is done to try to make it a pleasurable experience for the customers. And so if you're going for a low price option, you've been pushed down this road to go to Walmart, but if you're looking for a pleasurable shopping experience, you're going to Target. And they've done such a good job defining their vision, if nothing else, to make sure you're going down the right path. But I encourage you, as you're thinking through this, understand that you need to decide, are you going to be a Walmart or are you going to be a Target? You've got the same product as your competitor 30 miles down the road, but it's the way that you have executed your vision and empowered your employees to achieve this through your core values and your constant filling up the vision tank here, that you're going to make differentiate yourself from your competitor 30 miles down the road. And that's what matters in this.
Great. Well, it is, and like Sara said, you just have to make a decision. I would just encourage you that vision is such a powerful part of it. I wasn't a real believer in this many years ago, but I've really changed my mind on it, and it's the essence, I think, of what you're going to do in a business.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your time today.
Great. Have a happy 4th.
Bye.